Hello, CSU, and welcome to the Benefit Information Meeting. This is essentially a high-level overview of all your PERA benefits. My name is Matt Whipple, and I am a member education representative for Colorado PERA, and I'm happy to be bringing this information to you today. So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be going through all of the benefits kind of at a high level, and this is going to give you a good starting place for all the information you need to know in order to be able to retire with Colorado PERA. I hopefully will also dispel a few myths that you may have about PERA and give you a really good idea of what you need to do to retire well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to provide you with a resource. The resource is it's actually an online web page where you have not only the entire presentation that I'm about to show you, but you also have links that are associated with each slide in this presentation. So this is a QR code on the screen. You can use your phone, point your smartphone camera at the screen, and you should see a link pop up, and that will take you to that resource page. That resource page I'm going to reference quite a few times throughout this presentation. And you can go there to get more information on any of the topics that I am going to cover throughout. Now, there is also a full web address down below if you're not able to use the QR code. Hopefully you can just copy that down and use that to get to our resource page as well. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to be talking about defined benefit versus defined contribution. Now, if you are working for CSU and you were hired in, some of you had choice between defined benefit and defined contribution, kind of depending on when you were hired, but we'll talk about each of those things. Then we're going to talk about a lot of things that exist only in the defined benefit plan, and those would be things like how do we calculate your salary and your retirement income? How do you purchase service credit in PERA? And how to use the calculators in order to figure out more information. We'll get to all of that coming up. And then we'll talk about some of the built-in benefits that you don't have to sign up for or pay extra for. And then we'll wrap up with some voluntary programs and a little bit of information about Social Security. And of course, PERACare, because PERACare is an important thing when you're thinking about retirement. It's a good idea to plan ahead, figure out how you're going to pay for healthcare costs, because they tend to be a lot more expensive in retirement. So we'll get to that and some resources about PERACare, which is our healthcare program for our retirees. So what is a defined benefit? What is a defined contribution? The defined benefit is a pension. Most of us know that as a pension. In most pensions, you pay into the pension, the employee, also your employer pays into the pension, and throughout your career, you're building a retirement income. Now, when you retire, the pension pays you every single month for as long as you live. So this is a hybrid pension because it not only provides you that lifetime income, but it also is inflation protected. So it gives you an annual pay increase in retirement. There are also other benefits that are included automatically. These are the survivor benefits, disability benefits, and if you choose to use PERACare for your health insurance in retirement, you will also get a subsidy to help with the cost of that healthcare plan. Now, a defined contribution, on the other hand, is an investment savings account. Think of it like a 401k, a 457, a 403b, or an IRA. Those are all investment savings accounts. And technically, according to the IRS, they're all called defined contribution accounts. In a defined contribution account, you're putting money in and you assume the risk on that account. Hopefully your investments are growing as you are putting money in, so you're not just having the money that's you put into the account, but also the investment returns that are compounding year after year after year. And so essentially, the benefit of having that defined contribution account is to build a large nest egg to be able to pay all of your expenses in retirement, but it does not have a monthly income guaranteed for you in retirement. So it has a little less certainty, but a little more control on your part because you get to control how you want to invest it while you're saving, and you also get to control how you want to use it once you get to retirement. And we'll talk a little bit later on about how you can actually participate in both the defined benefit and the defined contribution. Now, if you are in PERA's defined benefit plan, we're going to be focused mostly on just information about that, because that is really the most complicated piece of PERA retirement is the defined benefit plan. Whereas a defined contribution, there's not that much to know, except we do have some information about investing. And I'll give you a little bit of information later on and talk to you about how to get more information about your investing options if you are in the defined contribution or if you choose PERA's 401k or 457 plans. When you make a contribution to your PERA member account, oftentimes people don't necessarily know where that contribution is going, but every contribution that you make to PERA goes into your PERA member account. Currently, your contribution rate is 10.5%. Now, you're not paying into Social Security. Most PERA employees or employees that are under PERA employers do not pay into Social Security. So this is essentially a Social Security replacement plan, except it's different than Social Security because all of the money that you put into this account will eventually come back to you. When you make a contribution to PERA, the money goes into your account. You can actually log into your account and see the balance of the account, which includes every single dollar you have ever put in there. And it also includes interest because PERA has been paying you interest on the money that you put into that account. And you can see how much you put in, how much it's earned in returns. Now, I mentioned that it always comes back to you. The ways that it comes back to you, it could be, you could refund your account, and we'll talk about that later. You can just cash out your account once you leave employment. You can take monthly income, and that's the way that most people do it. That's the way that it is designed. And even if you weren't able to make it to retirement, if you passed away before you got to retirement, your dollars would go back to your survivors. So PERA never keeps the money that you contribute to your PERA member account. It is always for you in the future or potentially your survivors if you were to pass away. Now, your employer's contributions, on the other hand, those are going into the PERA Trust Fund. And we'll talk a little bit later, or we'll talk in a minute about how the retirement is paid out, but your employer contributions cover your retirement after your money is gone. They cover your annual increase, which is the pay increase you get in retirement. They cover your survivor benefits. So if you pass away before you get to retirement, your survivors get monthly income. And we'll talk about that program as well. And the disability program, which is coming up. All of this is paid for out of your employer's contribution. And finally, if you choose healthcare through PERACare in retirement, you're going to get a subsidy. And that subsidy is also covered by your employer's contribution. I mentioned that you were paying 10.5% into PERA currently if you are an active member. Well, your employer is paying almost twice that much. They're paying 20.95%. And they're making a huge contribution to make sure that this retirement plan is holistic and secure for you. Now, when you retire, your first retirement income is going to come out of your member account. So all of those dollars that you're putting in there, they're going to come back to you in the form of monthly income. Now, usually that monthly income from your account only funds that monthly income for about 5 to 6 years into retirement. After that time, your account balance is completely depleted, and that's when your employer's contributions that have been going into the trust fund will pick up and pay you for as long as you live, even if you live to 110 years old. Now, how do we calculate how much money you're going to get? Because if you get a lifetime benefit, you probably want to know how much and how we calculate it. So there are 3 factors that we look at when we're calculating a lifetime benefit for each of our members. We're looking at your age, how many years of service credit you have with a PERA employer, and what did you earn in your highest years? We call that your highest average salary. That's by far the most complicated piece of the calculation. So let's take a look first at your highest average salary. Your highest average salary is going to be the average of your highest years of income. We're looking at 12-month periods. They don't necessarily have to be calendar years or contract years. So if you were to get a large stipend in the middle of December or let's say in October, then that might start one of your 12-month periods. And so you would get Your 12-month period may go from October to September of the following year. Now, the number of years that we're using in your average depends on when you were hired into PERA and when did you get to 5 years of service credit. So you will have a 3 years highest average salary if you had 5 years before December 1st or by December 1st of 31st of 2019. And you'll have a 5-year highest average salary if you did not have 5 years of service as of December 31st, 2019. And you can think of it kind of this way. If you were hired before 2015, then most likely you are on a 3-year highest average salary calculation, as long as there weren't any gaps in your employment. And if you were hired in or after 2015, then you will most likely be on a 5-year highest average salary calculation. Now, when we look at that 3-year versus the 5-year highest average salary calculation, mathematically, there is very little difference between those two calculations. They typically come out to be very similar. If you took the same person and looked at their top 3 years versus their top 5 years, oftentimes it would come out very similar. The real difference comes in that you have to stay in those highest earning years for longer if you're on the 5-year highest average salary calculation. Now, there are some things that may lower your highest average salary if you were hired before July 1st of 2019. So what are those things? I'm sure you want to know. They are pre-tax health, dental, and vision premiums and contributions to a flexible spending account. Now, there is really nothing wrong with paying for your health, dental, and vision premiums pre-tax and using a flexible spending account. In fact, those things are very beneficial. They can basically give you the ability to pay less money in taxes, especially on things like premiums, right? Now, the reason that it can impact your highest average salary is because anyone who was hired before July 1st of 2019, you're not paying your PERA salary on your gross income. You're not paying your PERA contribution on your gross income. You're paying on your gross income minus health, dental, and vision premiums if they're pre-tax, and minus flexible spending account contributions. So essentially the way it works, I'd like to do a little example here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my annotation tool and create a text box down here so I can type some things. So if your gross salary, I'm just going to do a little example here. Let's say that it equals $4,000 per month. Let's put a $sign on there. And I'm going to use a different color because red's a little strange. There we go. Now, if you were hired before July 1st of 2019, the next thing that will come out of your gross salary before it goes to PERA are those health, dental, and vision premiums and flexible spending account contributions. These are called 125 plans, and you probably can see them on your pay stub. So if you go look at a recent pay stub, you can probably see those health, dental, and vision premiums. In some cases, they're even called 125 plans. So let's say that you're contributing $250 per month into health, dental, and vision. And let's say that you're putting another, there we go. Now let's say that you're putting another $150 into a flexible spending account. Now that is going to reduce your salary by $400 before you make your PERA contribution. So that $400 is actually going to reduce your salary to $3,600 before you make your PERA contribution. So your PERA highest average salary will be based on $3,600. Now, when you retire, you're going to get a percentage of that highest average salary. That's how the benefit works. The number of years you have determines what percentage you're going to get. So the more years you have and the higher your age, means a higher percentage. But if you have a lower HAS, even if you have a higher percentage, it's going to be less money. You definitely want to have a percentage of $4,000 versus a percentage of $3,600. So how can you change this? Well, if you are in your highest years of earnings, which for most people is going to be their last years of earnings. So for me, my career has been pretty steady in income increases. I get cost of living adjustments, and I get pay raises, and occasionally I've even gotten a few promotions. And so as that happens, your salary is going up with PERA. So typically for most people, you're going to have your highest salary at the end of your career. So if you switch your health, dental, and vision premiums to post-tax during open enrollment, you can only do this during your company's open enrollment period. And you cancel your flexible spending account. Also can only happen during open enrollment. Then you can increase your PERA HAS. Now you're going to want to do this for up to 4 years if you have a 3-year highest average salary calculation, and up to 6 years if you have a 5-year highest average salary calculation. So this is basically a real simple way that you can maximize your retirement income. There is a sacrifice that's associated with this, in that you're going to have to pay higher taxes. So you're going to have to pay taxes on in this case, that $400, you would have to pay taxes on that. And you're also going to make a higher contribution to your PERA account. But in exchange, you're going to get a higher monthly income for the rest of your life. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like once we get to your table. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear this drawing, and we'll move on. So the next thing that goes into the calculation is your age, and you can't do anything about that, so we won't spend any time talking about your age. I will say that you do have to be at least 50 years old in order to retire, and there are different tiers kind of depending on what table you're on that allow you to retire at different ages. Then service credit. You get service credit for every single month that you work and earn at least $580. That $580 is the minimum to get full service credit, and it's a very, very low standard. Essentially what it is based on is 80 times federal minimum wage. So if you work at the lowest possible wage in our country and you only work 80 hours per month, you're still going to get full-time service credit with PERA. Now, if federal minimum wage does increase, we've heard a lot about that in the news lately. So if it does increase, then this number will also go up. But you can also get partial credit. So even if you have less than $580 per month, you can still earn partial service credit, and they round to 3 decimal places and they add it all together to get one total. Everything is going to be prorated so that you get credit for every single day that you work. Now you can also purchase service credit. Essentially what you're doing when you purchase service credit is you are adding PERA benefits to another employer, some employer that was not a PERA employer. Just to give you an example, I worked at McDonald's for 2 years in high school. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And I could cover my McDonald's work time with PERA benefits by paying the cost to cover that benefit. Now, it is typically not very cheap, but you can find out, get a pretty good idea of what it will cost using one of our online calculators. We also have purchasing service credit webinars. So we have a whole webinar that is committed just to giving you the information about purchasing service credit and helping you weigh the pros and cons, because it's not necessarily for everybody. It can allow you to retire sooner, and it will allow you to retire with a higher benefit amount, but you have to weigh the cost because it does cost quite a bit. And you can find out by going to your member account and clicking on the calculators. Now let's take a look at your benefit options. Once you get to retirement, and I realize that some of you may be a far distance from retirement, but you will have 3 options. Option 1 is a single life benefit. Option 1 covers one person, that's you, the PERA member, for as long as you live. It does provide the maximum benefit amount because it's only covering one person. Now, there are two other options, options 2 and 3, very creatively named, and those are joint life benefits. That means you get to select exactly one other person to share your lifetime benefit with. And what that means is that whoever lives longer gets the benefit for as long as they live. Our oldest member right now is 108 years old and is not even a PERA member. They were a co-beneficiary. They were someone that was chosen under option 2 or 3 to receive lifetime benefits after the PERA member passed away. So if you choose option 2, there's going to be a reduction from your option 1 amount, but your co-beneficiary will receive half of the benefit that you were receiving at the time you passed away for the rest of their life. Under option 3, there's a further reduction, but your co-beneficiary would then receive 100% of the benefit that you were receiving for the rest of their life. Now, in both option 2 and 3, your co-beneficiary also gets access to PERACare. They get your PERACare subsidy, and they have your annual increases continuing with their benefit. They essentially just become the PERA member in your place. Now, if you want to know exactly what this looks like, you can use our calculator online. I'm going to give you a resource to that, but you can also find the calculators on our resources page. I believe they are under slide number 9, and you can find a calculator that will do the monthly benefit calculation, and it will show you option 1, 2, and 3. So you get to see exactly how much that reduction is. Also, one other thing that people always want to know, what happens if your co-beneficiary passes away before you do? Well, if your co-beneficiary dies first, you go back to option 1 benefit amount. Now let's take a look at the table. This is table 2, and the tables, they all work the same, even though they look a little bit different. And each table has a green area and a non-green area. So the white area there is considered service retirement, or as most of us call it, full service retirement. Now, when you're in full service retirement, you're getting the maximum benefit for the number of years of service credit you have, regardless of your age. Notice that if you were over here at 50 years old, the 50 is up here at the top. And if you were 50 years old and had 30 years of service credit, you would get 75% of your highest average salary. Notice that it does not increase with your age. So once you get to full service retirement in the white area, your age is actually fairly irrelevant. You can retire with full service benefits. And that full service benefit comes out to exactly 2.5% for each year of service credit that you have. Now, the green area is considered early or reduced retirement. In the green area, you're retiring in a place where your age and the likelihood that you will live to your full life expectancy, which currently with all PERA members, life expectancy is at 84 years old. And so the younger you retire, the more of a liability that creates for PERA, because they have to pay you for all those years. And so in that green area, they're going to pay you a lower percentage. It will not be 2.5% times the number of years of service credit that you have. Now, I want to identify a couple of other things about this table. Let me grab my tool here again. So first, it looks here like you can't retire until you have at least 5 years of service credit, but that's actually not true. This is one of the very common myths that happens in PERA. People think you have to get to 5 years before you can retire with PERA. That's actually not true. Everyone becomes retirement eligible at age 65, even if you only worked for 1 year or 1 month. We currently have a member who is retired and is collecting a monthly benefit of 14 cents a month. So it's true, and it is possible to retire with less than 5 years. Now, that person most likely chose to retire with PERA so they could get access to our retirement health care. And you could do that too. So even if you have less than 5 years, you're still going to get a lifetime benefit, regardless of how big it is. And it also provides you access to our retirement health care. Now, on beyond 34, you can see that the table stops down there at 34 years, but you can go all the way up to 40 and get 100% income replacement if you were to work 40 years under a PERA employer, you would get 100% of whatever you earned in your highest years, that highest average salary. Now, if you are, let's say that you are 55 years old and you have 20 years of service credit, that puts you on the table right in the middle, right here. Now, if you keep working, you're adding years of service credit and you're also adding years of age. And so you would be moving diagonally across the chart like that. I don't really like yellow. I'm going to choose a different color. Okay. If you stopped working and you had 20 years at age 55, you could also continue moving across the chart with your age. And you can see that the benefit is increasing as long as you're still in that green area. Once you reach age 60, you would be at 50% on this table. And you could see that you could wait and increase even if you're not still working. That's also true if you were somewhere up here in the no benefits payable area. Let's say that you had only 12 years of service credit and were 55. That would start you about here. And then you could see you could move across the table. Eventually you would become retirement eligible at 60, but you could keep going. You could wait longer. And eventually you would become full service retirement and get 30% of your highest average salary, even though you only had 12 years and stopped working at age 55. So lots of great things here. This hopefully will give you a good idea of what your retirement benefit might be. Can kind of give you a good ballpark figure. If you want to have a much more accurate estimate of what your retirement benefit would be, I recommend that you use the calculator. There is the monthly retirement benefit calculator, or the PERA retirement benefit calculator. And that one is really great. Now, it's a little bit tricky. You got to make sure that you know how to use it. What it's going to do when you log in, it's going to automatically put your retirement date for the first day that you are eligible for full service retirement. So that's the white area on the table. It's going to tell you a date. Now, when I log in, I'm first eligible for full service retirement in 2032, in October of 2032. So I have 11 years right now until full service retirement. Now, I'll probably work longer than that just because I want a higher benefit amount, but that's what it's going to tell you when you first log in. Now, you can mess around with your highest average salary. You can use, there's a highest average salary calculator as well, and really get yourself a good estimate and start planning for the future. Now, the other option that you have, if you leave a PERA employer, I mentioned this earlier, you can take your money out. We call that refunding. So it's always your money. So after you leave, you can do whatever you want with it. Now, the lump sum refund, if you have at least 5 years, you would get a 50% match. If you got to full retirement eligibility, any retirement eligibility. So if you were on the table in either a green or white box with a number, then you would be eligible for a 100% match. So you could get all of your money back plus the interest plus a 100% match. Now, in most cases, that refund is only going to cover about 10 years worth of that lifetime benefit. We see that in most calculations, the monthly lifetime benefit is going to be higher than the refund amount by about 10 or 12 years into retirement. Also, keep in mind, if you do refund your account, you're basically closing down that account. You are severing all ties with PERA and giving up the lifetime benefit. All right, let's talk about some of the other built-in benefits. I mentioned survivor benefits. Here's a little bit more information about it, but I recommend that you go to the link in the resources page to read a little bit more about how this works. You get survivor benefits at no extra cost to you after 1 year of PERA service. And the order of your survivors is dependent on state statute. So if I were to pass away right now, I would be down in the lower box there. Let me go ahead and grab my arrow again. So I would be down here in this box. And my dependent children would be first in line to receive my qualified as my qualified survivors. So they would receive monthly income. Now, I actually have 3 children. They're all under age 23 and they're all full-time in school, which means they would get monthly income until they age out. Now, after they age out, the next person in line is my spouse. And so my spouse, starting at age 60, would start receiving a monthly lifetime income from my benefit in my place, since I wasn't able to survive long enough to retire. And it goes down. You can see there's more listed here. Once you become retirement eligible, you can see the order changes a little bit. Spouse is technically first, unless you choose a co-beneficiary that is not your spouse, then that person would be first in line to receive those survivor benefits. Now, if you did not know about survivor benefits before, and this is new information to you, you may want to share it with those people in your life who would be eligible to receive these benefits in the unfortunate event that you might pass away. And let's hope that that never happens. The next benefit is the disability benefits. This is also covered by your employer's contribution. It kicks in after 5 years, and there's a specific reason for that, because after you get to 5 years of service credit, that means you have most likely not been paying into Social Security for 5 years. And when you stop paying to Social Security for a period of 5 or more years, you no longer have disability benefits through Social Security. That's why PERA picks up these benefits to replace those Social Security benefits that you lost. Our disability program covers 22 months of short-term disability, and if you become totally and permanently disabled, then PERA covers you with what we call disability retirement. And that means that you're going to receive a lifetime income, and for most people, that lifetime income is about 50% of their highest average salary. The annual increase is another piece of your benefit that is built in. This is a pay raise to help you keep up with inflation. Now, currently, the annual increase is set at 1.25%. And we know that inflation is higher than that in most years, especially this year. And so this is not something that's going to cover all of inflation, but it does help you keep up with inflation over time. You may want to have another source of income for retirement. Maybe it's a 401k, 457, maybe a part-time job, something else that you can use to supplement your income when you start to feel the squeeze of inflation over time. Now let's talk about 2 voluntary programs that we have. The first is the 401k and the 457. Now, these are both available to you, and not only just the 401k and 457, but you have the Roth options as well. One of the greatest pieces about the 401k and the 457 is that we're not for profit. So I don't get a commission when you sign up for this. I don't have to go out and sell these plans to anybody. I'm simply offering them to you as a way to save extra money. And because of that, the costs are much lower in the plans. Our fees are some of the lowest that I've ever seen in my life. And no one at PERA is making an income that is tied to your participation in the 401k and 457 plan. That means more money stays in your account. Now, if you have not already begun saving in a 401k or a 457 plan with PERA, I'm going to encourage you to do that, even if you are a long ways off from retirement, even if you only have 2 or 3 more years left until retirement, because any amount saved is better than no amount saved. And the longer you have to save money, the more you get to take advantage of compounding returns. Now, you might be thinking, well, I already have a lifetime income after I retire. Why do I need extra savings? This, in my opinion, is almost as much important as a monthly income that you can count on, because in retirement, there are oftentimes unusually high expenses, things like medical bills. Maybe it's things like home repairs. Maybe you've already paid off your mortgage, but you have your furnace go out or your roof needs to be replaced. And those things don't necessarily fit into your monthly budget. Maybe you just want to take a vacation to Rome and you've never done that before. You can use the 401k money, the 457 money to pay for those vacations if they don't necessarily fit into your budget. And then one other thing, I mentioned inflation. The cost of goods and services continues to rise because of what we call inflation. And over the course of 15, 20, or 25 years in retirement, what we have seen in the past historically is that over a period of 25 years, the cost of goods and services doubles. So you'll need twice as much income to cover the same amount of goods and services 25 years into retirement. And so this is another way that you could give yourself a pay increase when you started to feel the squeeze of inflation over time. If you want more information, you can find more about these 401k and 457 plans on our resources page that I provided at the beginning of this webinar. Okay, and then we also have life insurance. I'm not going to go too in-depth because there's a really great resource on the resource page to help you understand what the life insurance looks like. There's an example at the bottom. It's a term decreasing policy. So the higher your age goes, the lower the monthly coverage amount, sorry, not the monthly coverage, the death benefit goes. And so you can see that at age 40, it's at $40,000 per unit up to $160,000 of coverage. And as you get older, the other ages aren't listed on there, but they're there if you go online to use that link. Once you get to age 70, 75, 80, 85, hopefully by then your financial obligations are decreasing, and so you have fewer things that have to be covered. And in my case, hopefully when I get to that age, I'll only have to worry about one final expense, and that would be my final expenses at my funeral. You can enroll during open enrollment, which is the month of April and May, with no questions asked, no medical evaluations. So if you're looking for extra life insurance and want to avoid a medical evaluation, you can sign up for these plans. The cost is $7.75 per month per tier. And once you retire, you can carry this into retirement if you like. You do have to sign up for it before you retire, and then the cost goes up by a little bit each month in retirement. Now, a couple of topics for after retirement: Social Security and PERA. So Social Security will do a benefit adjustment to your worker benefit because of your time in PERA. Now, when I first learned about this, I thought it was a penalty. I thought Social Security was trying to penalize me for being in a pension. Well, that's not exactly what it is. In fact, when Social Security is doing your calculation, all of the years that you worked for a PERA employer and did not pay into Social Security, it creates an inaccurate calculation in their benefit. So to account for that, they developed something called the windfall elimination provision into the Social Security worker benefit calculation. And that windfall elimination provision may reduce your Social Security benefit because when you're not paying in, they actually take all of the zeros that you that are in your contribution statement or your work history, and they average those into your salary average. Now, in Social Security, they do a 35-year highest average salary, like we do either 5 or 3. Social Security is looking at 35 years. And when they have all those zeros in there, it brings down your career income average. And in Social Security, the lower your career income average, the higher percentage of income replacement you get. So that's why they have that reduction. You can find out more information by going to Social Security's website. There are also some really good resources on the resource page. One of them is a video about PERA and Social Security. You can watch that to get a better idea. A couple of things to know: if you have 30 or more years of substantial earnings in Social Security, you do not have to worry about the reduction. You would get your full Social Security benefit and your full PERA benefit. And one other thing, the PERA benefit that you earn in replacement of Social Security is more than twice as much for the same amount of time worked and contributions paid. So it is a much more generous benefit. And again, you have your employer to thank for that because they are making a very large contribution to your PERA benefit. And one final topic we have, PERACare. This is our retiree health care. Now, this is optional. You do not have to use PERACare, but you can. And it provides health, dental, and vision. These are a la carte plans. And you can also cover your spouses, dependent children up to age 26, and disabled children at any age. Now, you, the PERA benefit recipient, so when you retire, you're going to be a benefit recipient from PERA, and you're going to get a subsidy if you choose PERACare's healthcare. That is $11.50 for each year of service credit that you have, up to a maximum of $230 that PERA will pay towards your monthly health insurance premiums. Now, once you turn age 65, you qualify for Medicare. Everything gets substantially cheaper, and that subsidy gets cut in half down to $575 up to a maximum of $115 per month. Now, I want to take a quick moment and I want to show you the website and where you can find more information about PERACare, because PERACare is a pretty important topic. And so if you go to our homepage, which is www.copera.org, look for the PERACare tab right in the middle of these gray tabs. When it drops down, you can see right now we are actually in PERACare open enrollment. So you can find out what the 2022 plan year looks like. You can find out our carrier information for the 2022 plan year. If you are someone who is retiring between now and the end of the year and you're going to need coverage, you might need the 2021 plan. So that's still here up until December. Once we get to December, we will probably remove these and replace them with all 2022 information. Now, if you're under age 65, then you would need a pre-Medicare plan. And we have 4 pre-Medicare plans. 2 of them are going to be through UMR, which is a United Healthcare company, and 2 of them will be through Kaiser. We also have dental plans, 2 through Cigna and 1 through Delta, and we have 3 VSP plans for vision care. And so you can find out all of that information by going to this PERACare resource page here. Once you turn age 65, then you're eligible for Medicare. And if you're approaching 65 soon, or when you do approach 65, I recommend attending one of our Turning 65 webinars because there's a lot of information to know about signing up for Medicare Part A and B, and then also adding additional coverage either through PERACare or through some other outside source. In any case, it is a very good idea to do your research well in advance before you retire about healthcare. PERACare is just one option, and you may find other options available to you that meet your needs. But that's where you can find that information. I want to point out one other resource here. This is also on the resource page, but if you want to visit other or attend other webinars, you can click on the webinars link here, and that will take you to our webinars page. It's under the members tab. All right, I'm going to head back to our presentation and wrap this up. So there are some action steps for you. First, if you have never logged into your PERA member account, I highly encourage that. There are a lot of great tools on there. You can see what your highest average salary is currently. You can project your future retirement income through that calculator. You can figure out how much it costs to purchase service credit. And so using those calculators can really help you get an idea of how to create a really great retirement plan for yourself. And speaking of a great retirement plan, I think the more things that you can save into, the better your retirement is going to be, the more secure. So consider saving extra money in the 401k or the 457. You can find those resources on the resource page. If you are in your highest years of earnings and you have benefits that are coming out pre-tax, like health, dental, and vision, and flexible spending account, now it is only those benefits. So if you have pre-tax contributions to a 401k, 457, 403b, or any other pre-tax contributions, those will not harm your HAS. They will not bring down your HAS. It is only health, dental, and vision and flexible spending accounts. So if you are in your highest years of earnings and you are within about 6 years or less of retirement, you may want to consider switching those benefits to post-tax. You will have to pay higher taxes, but you will give yourself a higher retirement income for the rest of your life. So a little retirement hack from us at PERA. And then also attend other meetings. I showed you where you could find those webinars. And so if you have more questions, want to know more information, I definitely encourage attending another webinar. And finally, we have our contact information here. And if you have questions that are account specific, so if you look at your highest average salary and you think it doesn't look quite right, you can call our customer service. they can access your member account and give you the information and help you understand what's going on there. And obviously, you know our website by now, and we have physical addresses as well, but right now we're not in the building full time, and I don't know that we're accepting any personal visitations. So, all right, thank you so much for joining, and have a wonderful day.